one of my mentors, remember him telling me a story sort of fairly early on that he used to charge sort of $5,000. So he said, oh, to hell with it. It'll be $50,000 and 0.25% of the commission. You touched on something really important there about this concept of getting funded, like when you're first starting out, not just in copywriting, but in any business here, around sort of what jobs you choose to take on. My bag, I don't know if you know, Kim, is all about sort of pricing. So helping business owners to confidently charge more. What we see is a lot of people, one of their biggest challenges is like, do they niche? And if you go too narrow too soon, it can be quite detrimental, especially from a cash flow perspective, if you don't have like the case studies and the reviews and testimonials behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the thing is, I think I always was pretty good about charging well, on the mid to higher range, even because I came out of a company that was pretty respected in the industry. But yeah, it's a lot of things people struggle with. You don't necessarily have to be in a niche or a specialty to be able to charge more, but you do need to be able to have some proof of results and have some samples that look good. And for example, I wanted to break into the higher paying long form copy, magalogs at the time, direct mail, which now eventually are now like sales pages and video sales letters and that kind of thing. So the first couple of years, I was mostly just, like I said, I was writing a wide range of things, mostly short copy, flat fee, getting some decent flat fees. But what I wanted to do is get to the point where I could start charging royalties, which is something that's very common in the US with long form copy. And so I had to really break into that. And it took working with one client, finally convincing him, hey, have you ever tried a magalog? Let me write a magalog for you. And I charged him fairly low flat fee. And then I had a sample. I just had the one sample, but then I had another potential client contact me and say, hey, have you written any magalogs? I'm like, well, here you go. I got one of these, right? Next thing I know, I was able to charge 3 times as much and get a royalty. I ended up writing a promo that on the second try, because we had to do some reworking, it was a control for almost 10 years and made me at least $150,000 to $200,000 in royalties.
Wow.
So, but all it took was getting that one sample to open that door. So,
do you know, it's amazing how often, because obviously you and I hang out with lots of copywriters and sort of marketeers in this sort of space. And one of my mentors, just after we met, he ended up getting onto the Agora training team. So he was a brilliant copywriter in his own right, doing sales letters normally, and eventually got picked up by Agora to go out and train all of their copywriting teams across the world. Remember him telling me a story sort of fairly early on that he used to charge sort of $5,000 to write a 2-page sales letter. And then this guy came along who was basically a bit of an idiot, and was like, I need it tomorrow, and it needs to be perfect, and it needs to do this, this, and this. And my mentor had to push some work aside, didn't really want the project. So he said, oh, to hell with it. It'll be $50,000 and 0.25% of the commission. So, and the guy said, yes.
Oh, wow.
Right. So first and foremost, my mentor never charged less than $50,000 again for a 2-page sales letter. That was the first thing. The second thing is because it was in supplements as well for a pharma business, actually. So he never worked for any other business after that, apart from pharmaceutical companies. The third thing was that launch ended up doing $400 million in the first 12 months.
Wow. That's incredible.
So 0.25% doesn't sound like a lot, but multiplied by 400 million, that's the big, fairly sizable chunk of change. And again,
that is pretty sizable. Absolutely.
But he learned a very valuable lesson. So this guy tried to henpeck him and said, I want a guaranteed return on investment. And what's your money back guarantee on this? And my mentor said, provided you don't change any words or any of the punctuation or any of the layout, you send this out exactly as it is. That's my money back guarantee, basically. Don't change a thing. This is how much I reckon it will do. And I think he estimated it would probably do 80 million or something like that. The guy changed it. It had a proper sort of hockey stick curve, so slow burn. And the guy was panicking because it wasn't taking off. And then all of a sudden, in the last sort of 3 months of the campaign, it all of a sudden skyrocketed. So this proper pain in the customer knocking his door down, trying to get his money back for his $50,000 and his 0.25%. My mentor said, yeah, but you changed one word and you moved a comma to a full stop and put this sentence there. You don't get your money back. Sorry.
Yeah. 2 things. One thing, I would never do a guarantee. Period. If it's a client that I've been working with and we put something out there especially if it's like a new product, right? We might tweak some things to get it optimized and working better. Creative is really just 20%, right? You've heard the 40, 20 rule. And so 40% is the list, who it's going to, 40% is the product, the offer, et cetera, and 20% is copy and design. So design is actually a factor in that too. It can be like this huge needle mover, especially in highly competitive markets. If you have like an unproven product, and let's say you're going to a completely different market or a totally new market, like there's so many things that are unknowns. And so you can't say, oh, it's the copy. So I would never, because I can't control all those other things. And I can't control how they're going to, if they're going to change a word or how they're going to design something.
Yeah.
So I just would not do a guarantee, period. I've never done that. And then the other thing, I just kind of back to my example of getting that one sample, getting some clients, get some work under your belt. You know, it could be a range of clients, could be maybe all in the same niche. I mean, obviously, if you have worked in a particular field, like supplements, like I did, or investing, it makes sense to immediately take some clients on in those niches because you'll be able to capitalize on your experience. But I call that climbing the copywriting ladder.